got to seek the kingdom, seek God first. Hallelujah. That's who you got to seek, not the fame and fortune. That ain't going to bring you, that is not going to give you heaven.
From the Rush Hour star who moved back to Georgia to escape Hollywood's negativity, to the disco queen who refused to sing her biggest hits, these 15 black stars made shocking choices that left fans stunned. Coming up first, we've got the story of a comedy legend who turned down enough money to buy a mansion. 1. Chris Tucker. Remember Chris Tucker from the Rush Hour movies? The guy who made us laugh with his high-pitched voice and crazy energy? Well, here's something that might surprise you. In the 2000s, when Chris was at the top of his game, he made a shocking decision that left Hollywood stunned. Chris had always been a Christian, but as his faith grew stronger, he started questioning the roles he was taking. The breaking point came when movie studios offered him millions of dollars to bring back his character Smokey from the movie Friday. But there was a problem. Smokey used bad language and was involved with drugs, and Chris just couldn't do it anymore. Can you imagine turning down millions of dollars? That's exactly what Chris did. He said no to the big payday because it went against what he believed in. His faith had become more important than fame and fortune. But Chris didn't stop there. He actually moved away from Hollywood completely. He packed up his life and went back to his hometown in Georgia. He said Hollywood had too much negativity and he wanted to reset his life around God. Talk about a major life change. Since then, Chris has been super careful about the projects he chooses. He only takes roles that match his values, and when he does comedy shows, he keeps them clean. No more inappropriate jokes or bad language. You might wonder if he misses the spotlight. Well, Chris seems pretty happy with his choice. He still performs sometimes, but only when it feels right. He's often talked about how his faith guides every decision he makes in his career. 2. Demond Wilson. You probably know Demond Wilson as Lamont from the classic TV show Sanford and Son. He was making serious money. We're talking about $40,000 per week back in the 1980s. That's like making over $100,000 a week in today's money. But Demond shocked everyone when he walked away from it all. At the height of his fame, Demond felt something calling him to a different path. He wasn't just successful on TV. He was living the Hollywood dream with a beautiful mansion in Bel Air. But success came with problems. Demond had developed a serious addiction to drugs, and his personal life was falling apart. Then something incredible happened. Demond felt a calling from God to become a preacher. And when we say he answered that call, we mean he really answered it. He didn't just cut back on acting, he quit completely. He sold his fancy mansion, left his high-paying TV job, and even overcame his drug addiction. The man literally became a traveling preacher. He would go from church to church, sharing his story and spreading his faith. When people asked if he missed acting, Demond would say, "I have no desire to act again." Can you believe that? From a top TV star to completely walking away from the entertainment industry. Demond became an ordained minister and spent the next several decades in Christian ministry. He wrote books, gave speeches, and helped other people find their way to faith. He completely transformed his life and dedicated it to helping others do the same. The most amazing part? He never looked back. While other actors from his era kept trying to make comebacks, Demond was perfectly happy pastoring churches and doing charity work. He occasionally made a guest appearance on TV shows, but only rarely. 3. Denise Vanity Matthews. This story is absolutely incredible and shows how someone can completely turn their life around. Denise Matthews, known to the world as Vanity, was one of the biggest stars of the 1980s. She was Prince's protege and the lead singer of the group Vanity 6. She had the glamorous lifestyle, the flashy outfits, and all the fame anyone could want. But behind all the glitter and success, Denise's life was spiraling out of control. She had developed a serious drug addiction that was slowly destroying her. The party lifestyle that looked so glamorous from the outside was actually killing her from the inside. In 1994, something happened that changed everything. Denise almost died from a drug overdose. As she lay in that hospital bed, fighting for her life, she had a spiritual awakening that would transform her completely. She realized that all the fame and success in the world meant nothing if she didn't have her health and her soul. That's when Denise made one of the most dramatic decisions in entertainment history. She didn't just quit drugs, she quit her entire career. She literally walked away from Hollywood, giving up music and acting completely. She even stopped using the name Vanity and went back to her real name, Denise Matthews. From that moment on, Denise dedicated her life to God and helping others. She became an evangelist, traveling to churches all over the country to share her story. She would tell people about how miserable she had been in show business, despite all the success and money. Denise wrote a book about finding God and spent her remaining years in ministry. She stayed completely out of the entertainment world, focusing instead on helping other people overcome addiction and find faith. She often said that leaving Hollywood was the best decision she ever made. When Denise passed away in 2016, she was remembered not as the glamorous pop star Vanity, but as a woman who had found redemption and spent her life helping others find it too. 4. CeCe Michaela. CeCe Michaela was a rising star on one of the most popular TV shows of the early 2000s, Girlfriends. She played Yvonne and was becoming a familiar face to millions of viewers every week. Her career was taking off, and she had everything an aspiring actress could dream of. But as CeCe's relationship with God grew stronger, she started feeling uncomfortable with some of the storylines on the show. The content was beginning to clash with her Christian beliefs, and she found herself in a difficult position. The breaking point came one day when she was on set at Paramount Studios. CeCe was handed a script that asked her character to perform in a very inappropriate scene. As she read through it, she felt God speaking to her heart, telling her it was time to make a choice, her career or her faith. What happened next is absolutely incredible. Right there on set, CeCe made her decision. She politely told the producers that she couldn't continue with the show because the content went against her beliefs. Then she literally packed up her things and walked off the Paramount lot. Forever. Can you imagine the shock on everyone's faces? Here was an actress walking away from a hit TV show at the height of her career. Most people thought she was crazy, but CeCe knew she was doing the right thing. She didn't just quit the show, she quit acting entirely. CeCe stepped straight into ministry, as she put it. She founded a faith-based organization called the God's Girl Network, and later started a wellness and lifestyle brand that incorporated her Christian values. Since leaving Hollywood in the early 2000s, CeCe has remained completely out of the entertainment spotlight. Instead, she travels around the country as a Christian speaker and teacher, mentoring young women and sharing her faith. 5. Clifton Davis. Clifton Davis was a familiar face on TV in the 1970s, starring in popular sitcoms like That's My Mama and Amen. He had that perfect smile and natural charm that made him a fan favorite. But even while he was enjoying success on television, Clifton felt a calling to something bigger. Here's what makes Clifton's story unique. He didn't wait until his career was over to follow his faith. Even while he was acting, he was also studying to become a minister. This guy was literally living a double life, TV star by day, theology student by night. Clifton had been a Christian his whole life, but as he got older, he felt God calling him to formal ministry. So while other actors were partying in Hollywood, Clifton was hitting the books, earning graduate degrees in theology. Talk about dedication. By the early 1990s, the call to ministry had become so strong that Clifton made a major life change. He stepped away from regular acting roles and became a full-time pastor. He started pastoring an interdenominational church and later became a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. Today, Clifton spends most of his time doing church work, gospel music hosting, and inspirational speaking. He occasionally makes guest appearances on TV shows, but his main focus is his congregation and spreading God's Word. All right, are you ready for some even more mind-blowing transformations? Because coming up next, we have a young actress who walked away from a superhero show at the height of her career, and her reason will absolutely blow your mind. 6. China Anne McClain. China Anne McClain's story is particularly powerful because she made her decision while she was still young and at the peak of her career. You probably remember her from Disney Channel's A&T Farm, or as Thunder on the CW's Black Lightning. She was living every young actor's dream, starring in hit shows and building a successful career. But in 2020, China shocked her fans and the entertainment industry when she announced she was leaving Black Lightning after season 4. But this wasn't just about leaving one show. China was walking away from acting altogether to focus on her relationship with God. The turning point came during the COVID-19 quarantine. While everyone else was going crazy being stuck at home, China had a spiritual awakening. She started questioning what was really important in life and realized that the entertainment industry just wasn't it for her anymore. In an emotional video message to her fans, China explained her decision. She said she felt God moving her in a different direction and that it was bigger than this show. She boldly declared, "I'm doing God's work now, and I'm not doing anything else." What's really incredible is how completely she was willing to give up everything. China said she would gladly leave all of this behind to follow God's call, even if it meant having very little money. Can you imagine a young person today choosing faith over Instagram followers and red carpet events? And she wasn't just talking. China actually did it. She stepped away from acting completely after Black Lightning ended. Instead of pursuing more roles, she focused on creating Christian content for social media and getting involved in ministry work. Since her departure, China has kept a very low profile in entertainment. She's hinted at working on faith-based projects, but she's made it clear that her purpose now is to serve God, not chase stardom. 7. Montel Jordan. Remember that huge 90s hit, "This Is How We Do It"? Well, Montel Jordan, the man behind that party anthem, decided to do it for Christ instead. This story is absolutely amazing because it shows how someone can completely flip their life around. Montel was a platinum-selling R&B artist, living the dream in the 1990s. His song was playing at every party, every club, every radio station. He had everything: fame, money, success, and fans all over the world. But by 2010, things had changed. Montel's career had hit some rough patches, and during this quiet time, he started reconnecting with his faith. That's when he heard God speaking to him in a way he'd never experienced before. God was telling him to retire, lay that life down. Can you imagine getting that message when you're still young enough to make comebacks? But Montel didn't hesitate. He and his wife Kristen joined Victory World Church in Atlanta, and soon after, he accepted a position as a worship leader. This wasn't just a side gig. Montel was completely changing careers. Here's what's so incredible about Montel's transformation. He didn't try to keep one foot in the secular music world. He walked away from the Hollywood music scene entirely and became the church's worship minister. He even released a gospel album with the church's music group. The man who used to get crowds hyped with "This Is How We Do It" was now leading congregations in worship. Instead of performing at clubs and concerts, he was up on stage Sunday mornings helping people connect with God. Montel has said that his life hasn't been the same since he obeyed God's call, and he doesn't miss the old fame at all. Over the last decade, he's remained mostly out of the entertainment spotlight, except for Christian music appearances. 8. Kel Mitchell. If you grew up in the 90s, you definitely remember Kel Mitchell from Kenan and Kel on Nickelodeon. He was the goofy, lovable half of the comedy duo that had kids everywhere cracking up. But after his TV fame, Kel's life took some very dark turns before finding an incredible redemption. After the show ended, Kel's career quieted down, and he struggled with serious depression. Things got so bad that he even had thoughts of ending his own life. It's heartbreaking to think that someone who brought so much joy to others was going through such pain privately. But God had other plans for Kel Mitchell. During his darkest moments, Kel turned to faith, and he credits God with literally saving his life. The transformation that followed is absolutely incredible. In 2019, Kel became a licensed pastor. Can you believe that? The same guy who used to make us laugh with his silly antics was now feeling called to help others find their way to God. He felt this calling during prayer and knew it was what he was supposed to do. Today, Kel serves as a youth minister at Spirit Food Christian Center in California. He works specifically with teenagers, sharing how God gave him purpose when he felt hopeless. It's perfect, really. He's still connecting with young people, but now he's helping them in a much deeper way. For much of the 2000s and 2010s, Kel stayed mostly out of the spotlight. Instead of chasing Hollywood success, he was involved in church ministry and speaking at churches. He chose purpose over popularity. Recently, Kel has dipped his toe back into entertainment with some family-friendly projects, and there's even talk of a Good Burger reunion. But he's made it crystal clear that ministry comes first. He's a family man and servant of God now, using his platform to inspire youth rather than just entertain them. 9. Ethel Waters. Ethel Waters was a true legend, a groundbreaking singer and actress who broke barriers in early Hollywood. She starred in films like Pinky in 1949 and was the second African American ever nominated for an Oscar. This woman was a trailblazer who paved the way for so many others. Ethel had conquered Broadway, Hollywood, and the music world. She was performing in the best jazz clubs and had established herself as one of the most talented entertainers of her time. But in 1957, something happened that changed the entire direction of her life. Ethel attended a Billy Graham crusade in New York City. Billy Graham was one of the most famous evangelists in the world, and his revival meetings drew thousands of people. That night, the blues and jazz icon rededicated her life to Jesus Christ, and it changed absolutely everything. After that spiritual experience, Ethel made a decision that shocked the entertainment world. She largely left her career behind to devote herself to Christian ministry. For nearly 20 years, she became a regular featured vocalist at Billy Graham's evangelistic revivals all around the world. Instead of performing in nightclubs and making movies, Ethel was now stirring audiences with gospel songs and her personal testimony. Her signature song became "His Eye is on the Sparrow," and she would move people to tears with her powerful performances. Ethel had a great sense of humor about her transformation. She joked that she went from singing about stormy weather to saving souls. By the 1960s, while her peers were still in Hollywood making films, Ethel was touring with Billy Graham's ministry and appearing on his television specials. She remained completely out of secular entertainment until she passed away in 1977. By then, she was remembered more as a gospel singer and evangelist than the glamorous actress and jazz performer she once was. But we're not done yet. The final 5 stories on our countdown might just be the most incredible ones yet. 10. Mr. T. Mr. T is one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment history. With his mohawk, gold chains, and famous catchphrase, "I pity the fool," he was larger than life in the A-Team and Rocky III. But here's something many people don't know. Mr. T has been a devout Christian since childhood and never let fame change his faith. What makes Mr. T's story unique is that he never hid his Christianity, even when it wasn't popular in Hollywood. He often said he came to Hollywood with Jesus and refused to abandon his beliefs for fame. That takes incredible courage in an industry that often pressures people to compromise their values. In the mid-1990s, Mr. T faced a major health scare when he was diagnosed with cancer. This experience deepened his faith even more, and made him reassess what was truly important in life. After recovering, he became even more selective about the roles and appearances he would accept. Mr. T started turning down jobs that he felt were inappropriate or didn't align with his Christian values. He even quit appearing in professional wrestling events that fell on Sundays because he felt it showed disrespect for the day of worship. Can you imagine turning down money out of reverence for God? Instead of chasing more Hollywood roles, Mr. T focused on ministry opportunities. He started visiting churches regularly, volunteering during disasters, and even preaching on Christian television networks. The man who once said, "I pity the fool," was now spreading the gospel message. Today, at 71 years old, Mr. T uses social media and interviews to boldly share his faith. He's never been shy about talking about God, and he said he'd rather lose popularity than stop talking about Jesus. He's noted that he never let fame nor success stop me from being a bold Christian. 11. Prince. Prince's story is fascinating because he didn't completely quit performing, but his spiritual transformation dramatically changed both his music and his lifestyle. The artist formerly known as Prince went from being one of the most provocative performers in music to a deeply religious person who lived very differently. In 2001, Prince became a devout Jehovah's Witness, and he described the experience as being born again. This wasn't just a casual religious phase, it completely transformed how he lived and what he was willing to perform on stage. The same artist who had shocked audiences with sexually charged songs like Darling Nikki and explicit performances made a conscious decision to leave that persona behind. He stopped performing many of his most provocative hits because they no longer aligned with his faith. Prince also made a dramatic change in his public life. The man who had once loved media attention and controversy became incredibly reclusive. He gave very few interviews in his final 15 years and completely stepped away from the Hollywood scene that had once fascinated him. What's really remarkable is how Prince spent his time after his conversion. Instead of partying with celebrities, he was quietly attending Bible study meetings. He even went door to door in his Minneapolis neighborhood, sharing his faith with regular people just like any other Jehovah's Witness. Prince continued making music, but even that changed. His later songs often had positive and spiritual themes instead of the controversial content that had made him famous. He performed concerts, but on his own terms, usually avoiding mainstream award shows and the press circuits that he had once embraced. In essence, Prince semi-retired from being a public celebrity and became a much more private, faith-driven artist. He put his relationship with God above the Purple Rain fame that had made him a global superstar. When Prince passed away unexpectedly in 2016, he was remembered not just for his incredible musical talent, but also for his dramatic spiritual transformation. 12. Pebbles Reed. Pebbles Reed was a major force in late 80s R&B music. You definitely remember her hit song, Mercedes Boy, and she was also a successful music executive who discovered and managed TLC. She had everything going for her in the music industry: hit records, successful artists, and all the money and recognition that came with it. But behind the scenes, Pebbles was going through some really tough times in the music business. The industry can be brutal, and she experienced some situations that left her feeling disillusioned and hurt. In 1997, during what she called a very rough period in her life, Pebbles had a spiritual awakening that changed everything. She felt the hand of God touch her life and knew she needed to make a dramatic change in her direction. What happened next is absolutely incredible. Pebbles didn't just step back from music, she completely left the industry behind. She walked away from recording albums, managing artists, and everything that had made her successful and wealthy. Pebbles adopted the name Sister Perry and founded Women of God Changing Lives Ministries in Atlanta. She dedicated her life to Christian counseling and what she called deliverance outreach, helping people overcome serious problems in their lives. She felt that God had given her a vision that through her ministry, millions will be delivered and set free from alcohol, drug addictions, and abusive relationships. That's a pretty big mission, but Pebbles was completely committed to it. The transformation was so complete that she effectively disappeared from the secular music world overnight. No more albums, no more artist management, no more red carpet events. The only time she really appeared in entertainment news was briefly in 2013 when a TLC biopic showed some of her past business dealings. 13. Al Green. Al Green's story is one of the most famous examples of a major star leaving secular music for ministry. The sole legend behind classics like Let's Stay Together was at the absolute peak of his career when he made a decision that stunned the music world. In 1974, Al was only 28 years old and on top of the world. His smooth voice and incredible songs had made him one of the biggest stars in soul music. But then something tragic happened that changed his life forever. His girlfriend died, and the trauma of this event led Al to have a spiritual awakening. Right after this devastating experience, Al announced that he was retiring from soul music to become a pastor. Can you imagine? At just 28 years old, when most artists are just hitting their stride, Al Green was walking away from superstardom to serve God. He didn't just talk about it. Al actually bought a church in Memphis that same year. Over the next 5 years, he slowly transitioned out of the secular music spotlight. By 1979, he had completely given up his R&B stardom for gospel music. Al began recording only contemporary Christian albums and started preaching weekly at his Full Gospel Tabernacle Church. Throughout the 1980s, his presence in mainstream entertainment was minimal. Instead, he became known for fiery sermons and incredible gospel performances. The man could still sing like nobody's business, but now he was using that amazing voice to praise God instead of singing love songs. He often merged his preaching with his singing, creating worship experiences that moved people to tears. Although Al Green did carefully return to some R&B collaborations in later years, he never went back to the flashy pop star lifestyle. He stayed out of secular media and remained focused on his calling as a minister. To this day, Reverend Al Green is still an active pastor in Memphis. He splits his time between leading his congregation and occasionally performing gospel-influenced concerts. He always carries the Bible that he says saved his life, and his faith remains the center of everything he does. 14. Mace's story is absolutely wild because he made one of the most dramatic exits from music at the height of his success. In the late 1990s, Mace was one of the biggest names in hip-hop. He was signed to Bad Boy Records with hits like Feel So Good and was living the rap star lifestyle that everyone dreamed of. But in 1999, at the peak of his fame, Mace did something that nobody saw coming. He went on MTV and shocked the hip-hop world by announcing that he was retiring from rap to find God and pursue ministry. Can you imagine the reaction? Here was a young, successful rapper walking away from millions of dollars and massive fame. Mace told DJ Funkmaster Flex that he'd had a calling from God and could no longer perform music that didn't represent his renewed faith. This wasn't just about taking a break. He was completely done with the rap game. And Mace wasn't playing around. He literally disappeared from the public eye virtually overnight. One day he was on magazine covers and music videos, and the next day he was gone. For a young platinum artist to just vanish like that was almost unheard of in the music industry. In the early 2000s, Mace became an ordained minister and founded El Elyon International Church in Atlanta. He spent about a decade preaching and building a congregation, staying completely out of the entertainment limelight. During those years, he was totally focused on ministry work. While other rappers from his era were still making music and staying in the spotlight, Mace was pastoring a church and living a completely different life. Now Mace's story gets a little complicated because he did make a couple of brief returns to secular music around 2004 and 2012. But he seemed conflicted and never fully re-entered the entertainment world. In recent years, he's stepped back from music again and returned to ministry and inspirational speaking. Mace's initial departure remains one of the most famous examples of a celebrity trading fame for faith. His story shows that sometimes God's calling is stronger than any record contract or paycheck. 15. Donna Summer. Donna Summer's story is particularly interesting because she didn't completely quit music, but her spiritual transformation dramatically changed her career and the content she was willing to perform. Known as the Queen of Disco, Donna was absolutely huge in the late 1970s with provocative hits like Hot Stuff and Bad Girls. At the very height of her popularity, when disco was ruling the airwaves and Donna was the undisputed queen, she experienced a spiritual conversion that made her question everything about her image and music. She became a born-again Christian and started feeling uncomfortable with some of the content that had made her famous. The internal struggle was real for Donna. She had songs with very suggestive lyrics and had built her career on a certain image, but now her faith was telling her something different. She reportedly wanted to stop performing some of her most provocative songs altogether, worrying about how they fit with her new Christian beliefs. "I was afraid I would lose my fans," Donna admitted, but her conscience was bothering her about lyrics she now felt were inappropriate. That takes incredible courage to potentially sacrifice your career because your values have changed. Donna did make some significant changes. She largely stopped performing her early hit, Love to Love You Baby, during concerts because she felt it was too suggestive. She also shifted toward recording more family-friendly and introspective projects, including a well-received gospel-influenced album in 1980. While she didn't retire from music completely, Donna deliberately stepped out of the wild Hollywood party scene. She spent the next decades living a much quieter life with her family and church, focusing on what really mattered to her. When she did perform concerts, Donna often gave testimony on stage about God's role in her life. She used her platform to share her faith and avoided the controversy that had once surrounded her career. Until her death in 2012, Summer remained devoted to her Christian faith. She saw her incredible singing talent as something to honor God with, proving that you could still have a successful career without compromising your values. Which story shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss more amazing stories like this.